Okay, you getting a message yet?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So hello everybody and welcome to day 13 of Freedom from Anxiety in Uncertain Times. And I'm Jan Hart and I have another lovely lady with me today. I'm going to introduce you in a moment to Laura White, and Laura's another Little Peace of Mind practitioner. So today's Friday the 13th.
Oh, yes.
So I think we'll focus on lucky for some rather than unlucky.
Yeah.
And it's also World Kindness Day today. So
Oh, beautiful.
yeah, and there's an opportunity for all of us to look and see and do something kind for the people around us, even if it's at home, if we're not getting out and about. It's a lovely opportunity. So let's play it forward, people. So without further ado, I think I'll introduce you to Laura. And like the other ladies, I met Laura at a training course to become a practitioner for a Little Peace of Mind.
Yeah.
I think we've both been around the conversation for a while longer than that, but it led us to a training course, and we all trained together and got to know each other really well. And so that's why I'm inviting these ladies on, because we all see something different, and our own wisdom comes through in different ways for us. So Laura, I suppose what I'd like to open up with maybe is, 2020 has been a strange year.
Yeah.
And I know for me, I've been able to show up in a very different way than I would have before I came across this understanding. So I'd be just curious, what it's like for you, maybe, and what's made the difference in the way you've been showing up in 2020.
Yeah, wow. I think a massive difference, like pre me understanding how my mind worked.
Yeah.
I used to get so caught up in the story of the content of my thoughts. Like I used to take everything so seriously.
Yeah.
Especially when it came, so the reason I got into this understanding for backtrack was that I've suffered from anxiety for numerous years, panic attacks. They got so bad. I went through infertility issues, and they got so bad that I ended up losing my job and not leaving the house. And then I discovered this understanding and everything changed. And to put it into context, I have a job now and I'm also coaching, that I work for LinkedIn.
Fantastic.
And so this understanding, even outside of lockdown, showed me what I was innocently doing with my thinking. The story, the horror movie I played all the time about what it meant that because I hadn't got the things in my life, the family at a certain age, the children, I was having panic attacks, and like when I was presenting, that was one of the big things. I made that mean something about an idea of me, my idea of self.
Yeah.
And when I really started to question that, like really started to see the nature of thought, then everything started to settle down for me. And so when I think about this year, if I hadn't a really awareness of how I'm creating my experience through thought in the moment, every single second, then I see it at work where everybody is a victim of what's going on outside. And it's an amazing to see, because there's a balance that I feel now where, yes, COVID's happening, and yes, we've been working from home now for over 10 months. At LinkedIn, we're going to be working till July. There's a lot of thinking around that. There's all sorts that's going on, and I see a whole plethora of experience that's going on across my team, and it's all thought-based. And it's amazing to see. And yet, I also would have been carried away with that. But there's this understanding has given me so much more freedom to play in life with a gracefulness and a beauty that I didn't know was possible, where I turn up in the moment and there's experience that's happening, and then there's the story that I make about it. And I see that more and more. And it's not that necessarily sometimes I don't see it in the moment. I get carried away with human beings. I get carried away. I have a rant about my awful boss that's just something that's happened today. You know, I just got on the call with you and I just said it to you. You know, this is happening. And yet there's always this coming home to myself, because once you see something about thought, fundamentally what is happening, what it is, like how we are creating our experience through it, once you see that, you can't unsee it.
No.
And so I come back home to myself so much more quickly. And it's beautiful, because from that space I can see a different view. Like there's fresh thinking, there's different perspective, there's other ways of looking at life. There's infinite possibilities.
There is.
And I really see that. And the more that I see that, those infinite possibilities show up in my life. And so I find myself being on a Facebook Live with you, Jan, where, like, you know, a year ago, if you told me petrified of even getting out of the house would be doing this, I'd be like, oh, jog on. There's absolutely no way I'd be doing that. And so,
and me too. I remember you and I having a conversation during our training about, you know, having to be prepared all of the time.
Oh gosh.
You remember that? And giving presentations, and how we couldn't do it unless we had it all planned out and written out and rehearsed. And here we are with no script today, just talking about whatever shows up.
Yeah. And it's so, wow, that in itself, I completely forgot about that conversation, about how everything had to be planned, because there was a story I told myself, and I believed that, you know, I'm dyslexic, and like I find it, and obviously I got all these panic attacks when I'm presenting in front of people, and I needed to control everything around me, my environment, so that never happened, because it was the worst thing in the world if it did. And I was so scared of that feeling that it was an invitation for more of it to come, and I never really saw that. And now I don't live in fear of having a panic attack or anxiety. If it comes, and it does, like it's not like I'm immune to it. I see it time and time again how it works. It passes. It's naturally, we don't need to get stuck in there. And
no, and it takes us back to Sydney Banks and his famous quote, you know, if all that changed was that we weren't afraid of our own experience, that alone would change the world. And we don't have to do anything to stop being afraid. It's when we actually see how the mind works and how it's an inside out job, then we're not afraid of it, because we know that it can't hurt us and we understand what it is. But when we don't, we think it can hurt us and take us down and do us damage. And, you know, I mean, panic attacks are horrible.
Because
when you find yourself in the middle.
Exactly. And we think there's something in that feeling, because it feels so bad. There's got to be some truth in what is going on in that moment. And actually, it's totally the opposite.
It is.
It's like believing what you're thinking when you're really drunk. Like it's just, those feelings I see now are a virus detector. You know, like it's there to show what's going, like in the computer.
Absolutely.
What we're innocently doing, innocently misusing thought. You know, and it's so innocent.
And so that's all that's ever going on.
It's all that's ever going on. You know, and what I find, and I still find in this, is that, you know, I might be given a bit of news at work, which I have, and I've immediately gone to what that means in 6 months' time or a few months' time, how I won't be able to cope. Who knows what's going to happen? Like, it's funny to see myself doing that, and the corresponding anxiety that that's happening. And it's, even though I've been in this understanding, my mind still jumps there, because it's habitual.
It is. And it's conditioned and programmed. And
exactly. But it doesn't have to mean that that's therefore needs to be blindly followed and believed. You know? And that's really the key, because it's the feeling that is the divine guide to wake us up to, I'm doing it again.
Bill Pettit calls them love letters from our true nature.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, trying to wake us up and just tell us your head's gone mad, or you're having all this fearful thinking or this insecure thinking, and that's all that's creating the feeling.
Yeah.
And the more intense the feeling, the stronger the message coming from our true nature, trying to wake us up to what's going on.
Yeah.
But when we don't know that, Laura, I mean, nobody ever told us that. So
nobody ever told us that. And actually, that's the thing, because we're taught that in school, that the personal mind, the computer, I like to call it, that's all there is, and we need to figure it out, and we're in control. And we're in control of everything in life. We're in control of the direction that we go in. We're in control of the choices that we make. And you know what, like, I was thinking about that question you just said, like, what's been different? And it's, if we had known last year, if someone had said there's a terrible virus that's going to be global that's coming, it's going to mean that it's going to be it's going to have this effect on the economy, it's going to have this, it's going to be, means that we're going to work from home, everybody would have gone into their heads and thought that they would never have been able to have coped, right?
It
would have been hysteria, because the nightmare that would have the movie, I always would call it the movie that we would have been playing, and then like put the DVD on, this is an awful one, like, and we just would have believed it because that's what was being told from outside.
Absolutely. And in the same way that you've got news from work and it's stirring up all that thinking in you. Same thing. And
then when it happened, how amazing to see that, yes, okay, there was hysteria in buying toilet roll and hand sanitizer, I get it. But, really as a collective, it showed that how the human mind, how humans work, we're built for the mind to settle and adapt in the moment. And we have wisdom in the moment. We know what to do then, not worrying about it in 6 months' time or 2 months' time or 2 minutes' time. It's now, it's right now. And so, like the fact that we all did adapt, and now we've all adapted so well, people often don't want to go back to work. It's
isn't that the funny part of it? Like those things that businesses thought could never happen have happened, things that people thought could never happen have happened, and we adjust. The human design is that we will adapt to whatever is going on. But you're so right, life is happening now, not in 2 minutes or 2 months or 2 years. And that's the challenge, is to stay in the now. And as you say, we all get caught up, we all get taken away by our fearful thinking and our insecure thinking, when we're worried about how something will work out. But it's okay when you recognize it.
That's it. I think that's the key. It really is. And that's lovely, because it's like when you see a child throwing a tantrum and throwing themselves on the floor, then the next minute they get up and, oh, well, that's all right. They don't sit there and go, oh, I really wish I didn't throw myself on the floor in the supermarket. I'm so embarrassed. Do you know what I mean? That's it. You can see it so beautifully with children. That's how it works. Thought comes and it goes, and we have the corresponding emotion and behavior, and then that's it.
And we see it in nature, Laura, and we see it in the animal kingdom. I was down at a local lake a few weeks ago, and there was ducks there. And they were all kind of, I don't know whether they were playing or whether they were fighting, but they looked like they were fighting, and the feathers were all ruffled and making all these noises. But when it was over, the 2 ducks just kind of shook themselves off. Not the wind. It was like it never happened.
It's like, oh well.
They don't beat themselves up afterwards.
No, they're not like. That's the thing, ruminating and worrying and banking it. That's what we seem to do. We seem to bank most of like experiences, and really then what we're either doing is living in thoughts of the past. Or we're living in making thoughts of the past mean something about the future, which we don't know nothing. We know nothing about.
No,
we have no idea.
Nothing at all.
I'm seeing it in this at the moment where I'm looking to buy a flat down here, and there's flats I put offers in and I've not got accepted on, and then there's there's ones which I have got accepted on and I pulled out, and you know what, it's like I've gone to in my mind of like, oh my God, what does that mean for other people if I pull out, and all of this, and I've created this loop of this story of how I'm affecting other people, and it's like I have no idea what people are thinking, and me saying no to something is enabling a yes for someone else, and how that's going to play out for them is perfect. And so there's I realize that the decision of what house I go for isn't up here, the busy thinking. It comes from a much more intuitive, like a wisdom, and I see that, and I the more I notice that I'm led by that always, the more I'm like, let go of the busy thinking and step away and trust that actually the direction I'll be going in will be the right one.
Absolutely. No, and when it comes through as wisdom, it's one of those things that seems to download into our experience. Whereas when it comes from up here, you can nearly feel the mechanics of churning your thinking over when you get to a solution. Whereas when it's coming from your wisdom, it feels completely different.
Step away from the pros and cons lists, seriously.
They don't help.
No, and because you really know, you just know really when you get quiet or you leave it alone, and then there's an answer that pops up when you're in the shower.
Absolutely. And I think anybody can look back over their life, Laura, and recognize moments like that when we just knew something was the right thing to do. When years ago, my husband and I left Ireland and moved to the United States, and at that time I knew that was just the right thing for us to do. And 10 years later, I knew it was time to come home. It wasn't thought out up here, it was just a knowing.
It was a knowing.
Your intuition comes through, and it's beautiful when it happens.
It's funny actually you said that, because I lived in Australia, and I had the same thing about going, and then the same thing about coming back. But then I listened to my thinking, and it took me 3 years to move back.
Oh dear.
because I was up here going, oh yeah, but this, that, what of that, blah, blah, blah. And I ended up doing it anyway. And I'm not beating myself up going then, oh, I could have moved like 3 years earlier. I mean, everything is perfect until you make up a story that it's not. But it's
whatever
interesting.
Is happening is perfect, because that's what's happening.
Oh, so I've needed this chat. I'd say I needed it, but I'm like, it's just such a good reminder.
We need the reminders, and that's all these conversations are, is to remind us all of what we have going for us, because we forget. We don't know, and when we do know, we forget sometimes. And that's fine too. You and I still forget and get lost sometimes, but
all the time.
You come back
all the time. And that's what's beautiful about this. So even in a difficult year, that's that wisdom, the way that this understanding, like the mind works, never changes. It's never broken. It's always consistent. That is what is consistent.
And it's beautiful.
So,
Laura, I think that's a beautiful place to leave it.
Thank you for having me.
You're so welcome, and hopefully we'll have you back before the end of the month.
Yes, in 2 weeks.
Brilliant. We look forward to that. And you have a great weekend. And thanks to everybody that joined us today. It was lovely having you here. And don't forget, World Kindness Day today. So time. Talk to you all soon.
Take care.
Love to all. Take care.
Bye.
Thanks, Laura.
Bye.